Hi everybody! Today we'll be back working on Our Lady from Garden Lady by Lana Green. I think I finally made a decision on what colour I'm going to do her dress and her hair, so without any further ado I'll zoom us in and we'll get started. There we go, I've zoomed us in a little bit there, and today I will be continuing to use my Black Widow pencils, the 3 sets that I do have, and I also have the Polychromos white that I've been using for blending. I also have the Polychromos black, which I haven't actually used yet on this picture. I don't think any of the shadows need really to be that dark black, it might be a little bit too harsh, but I've got it there anyway just in case I do need to use it. And the rest of the picture I will be using the Black Widow pencils. I've decided that for her hair, I'm going to try and copy this kind of blonde shade we have going on this side. I think I can maybe get something that looks a bit like that, maybe using a grey and the yellow and blending with the white over the top. I'm going to see how I go with that. And for her dress, as I've decided I want to use my washi tape for these little bands on her arms here, and those are yellow, the ones I want to use, I'm going to use purple for her dress and for her hair ribbons to get a bit of contrast going on with the yellow of the lemons and with the yellow I'm going to be bringing in for these ribbons. That seems to be what the decision process has kind of settled on, so I'm going to go ahead and try that. Hopefully it will work. We'll be able to get a nice blonde shade going on with that hair there, and then we can bring in the washi tape for the ribbons. So I think we'll be starting with her hair, and I've picked out a few colours that I think I might be able to get the same kind of effect going on as the other side. Probably not completely the same, just something along the same lines, but that's all I'm really aiming for. And the colours that I've picked out are dim grey, that's CB75. We have charcoal, which is CB69, and also the light yellow, which is CB27. We've used that one before, I think, on the lemons. Those are all from the Cobra set. I'll try and write all these numbers and names down in the description. So I think I'm going to start with this charcoal colour, which is the darkest grey that I've picked out. And I'm going to try and blend through from this charcoal into the lighter grey and then into the yellow for kind of the lighter bits for hair. And then blend on top of that with the white. I've never really tried to do this for a hair colour before, but looking at the illustration on the other side of the page, this does seem to be this kind of colours that Lana has used over there. If it was Lana that coloured in these images, I'm guessing it was. But it seems to be more of a greyish kind of ash blonde. So I'm hoping that once these are blended, we can get something similar going on. If not, I can maybe try and bring in a golden brown or the tan colour maybe, and see if that actually helps. But I'm hoping that these we can blend to give some sort of a blonde kind of colour for this lady's hair. And again with the yellow, the blonde for her hair, which matches in with the lemons. Hopefully will look different enough that they do stand out from these lemons here. Maybe if I make sure there's a good bit of shading with the greys behind there. But yeah, the yellow should hopefully be a good contrast to the purple that I'm thinking of bringing in for her hair bows. That's kind of what I ended up deciding on. And purple is my favourite colour, so I might be a little bit biased for that. But I do love colouring pictures where there's a contrast between the yellow and the purple. I think it's really kind of vibrant and nice. Kind of spring looking, I suppose, these colours. But I thought maybe the pink would just be too much pink along with her skin colour. I haven't used that much purple in her skin. I know we did use purple in her skin, but hopefully not enough that doing her hair bows would be a bit of a problem. I could always maybe try and pick up a kind of more bluer, a cooler purple to do her dress and her bows, but we'll see once we get there. My usual kind of method is to see once I get there, puzzle out what kind of colour we can use. But I think, yeah, after ruminating on it for about a week now, I think it's been quite a while, I've kind of come to the conclusion that purple is what I want to use, which isn't that different from the blue on the other side, I don't suppose, but I think it would give maybe a little bit more of a contrast to the yellow. We'll see when we get there. It's all my usual tactic of playing by ear and hoping I can make something work. So just for this side of her head first, before I have to turn the book around to do the other little pigtail we've got going on. That's the dark grey, that's the charcoal. Next I'm going to bring in the dim grey. Try and blend out that dark grey a little bit. Easing off on the pressure again as we go into the lighter areas, because I'm going to try and bring in that yellow to maybe give it that kind of golden sort of blonde tone. We don't want her to have grey hair. She seems to be a young girl, so we don't want her to have grey hair. We want it to look kind of ash blonde. And I haven't really used grey to give a blonde colour to this extent before. I have used kind of touches of it because it seems to work a lot better than the black when you're doing the shadows in blonde hair. The grey seems to work a little better than black, but after looking at the image on the other side and trying to puzzle out what colours were actually used there, it seems to be grey and yellow, so let me give that a little bit of a go, see if I can make it work. And if not, at least we've learned that, yeah, that doesn't work, don't try it. That is how we learn anyway, isn't it? Being prepared to make mistakes and just learning as we go. I don't usually, as I said, try and copy the inspiration illustration or the coloured version. I usually just dive in and do whatever I like. But I'm thinking lately that sometimes it's better to try and copy what's there, or at least use the same colours to give you different ideas of how you can use colours and different colour combinations that might work. So yeah, I'm thinking it's working okay so far. Although I have adapted it very slightly. It seems to be working okay so far. Okay, that's enough with the grey. I'm going to try and go in with this light yellow now and see if that does work on top of the grey. Going on top of the grey, trying to leave a little bit of the white paper going through our highlights, where hopefully we can blend over those with the white and get some sort of a blonde colour going on. I'm not entirely sure whether I would need to bring in the black or not, but we'll see once this is all blended. Hopefully this colour isn't looking too similar to the lemons. It does seem to be on the illustration the same kind of colour as the lemons, so it might actually work. Let's see, let's bring in the white Polychromos. Give that a little bit of a blending. And hopefully these colours are showing up on camera. Again, the age-old problem that the lighter colours tend not to show up super well. It isn't working too badly. I think we do have a lot darker shadows. Yeah, we do seem to have a lot darker shadows in Lana's illustration. Maybe we do need to bring in that black. The line art isn't actually black here. It's kind of a, it's kind of a brownish grey. The line art is kind of a brownish grey, which I think, yeah, it works for the rest of the picture, but I think for giving the shadows on this hair, we do need a little bit darker, I think. And if we blend it out with the grey, hopefully it shouldn't look too stark of a shadow colour. Oops, going over the lines with a bow there a little bit. That shouldn't really matter too much. We can bring in our white highlights. Sort that out at the end. Yeah, maybe a little bit of that black. Blend that out with the charcoal grey. Pressing a bit harder now. But yeah, a little bit of that black. Kind of blend that out with the charcoal grey. I don't want her hair to actually look grey, so I'm trying to be a little bit careful here, keeping the darker greys to these, the areas that are actually shaded in the very kind of light grayscale we've got going on. Let's bring in that yellow over the top of the greys maybe. Back to the charcoal grey. Or is it just called charcoal? I think it might be just called charcoal, that one. We might darken those shadows very, very slightly into a parting there in the middle. Oh, that is better. Now I'm going over the top of the yellow with the lighter grey. It's called dim grey, and that is dulling down this yellow. So that is not now clashing with the lemons so much. I don't really want it to look as the same grey as the lemons, so going over it with the grey now. That is dulling that down, and hopefully her hair will be looking more like what we have in the picture. And that over with the white. I'm working a little bit more with that yellow, probably on top of the grey now, by now, the way it's all kind of blending together, but Just going for what is on the other side in the illustration. And we will be bringing in the white gel pen as usual for a little bit of highlights there. Can we see? Can we get both of those on the same page? How do we think that's looking? I think that's looking pretty similar, to be honest. Yeah, it does look as if on the other side, yeah, it's kind of a warm greys with the yellow. That's what's been used over there. So if anybody can find any better greys to use than these, then feel free. I don't have the full set of Black Widows, so I don't have all the colours. But it seems that the warmer greys and a little bit of yellow seem to be giving that blonde colour that we've got happening over here. And I think once we go in with the white gel pen, the handy dandy white gel pen over the top, a few little bits of highlights. Which way was our light coming? I think our light was coming from the left, wasn't it? So we probably have a few little highlights here, neaten off those lines a little bit. Yeah, I think we do have something similar going on there. So let's carry on and colour the rest of her hair using those greys and the yellow. We're trying not to let the yellow kind of dominate because we want the lemons to be more yellow than her hair, because blonde hair obviously isn't yellow. It's kind of a creamy colour maybe. But I don't want it to be too pale because we do want it to stand out from her skin, and her skin is pretty pale here. So again, doing darker shadowy areas just with a few little strokes of that black. Where the shadows would actually be in her hair. And the charcoal. Basically just playing with those colours until we get something that looks like it could be hair. We're trying to make this fringe, or these bangs I think they're called in America, look kind of rounded by shading the top end here where it comes onto her hair there, and the bottom as it gets closer to her skin, because if they're curving out, these two parts would be furthest away from the light, and we'd have our highlights in the middle bit here. Let's try blending that. Apologise if I'm going off camera. It is quite a usual problem for me going off camera. I do apologise if I do. I try and cut it out of the video if I go on camera, but sometimes if I'm talking and explaining something, I try and leave it in. But hopefully this hair has been on camera, and I've had to buy a new attachment to actually attach my phone to the tripod because the other one broke. So we are actually in a little bit of a different position as I am used to, which makes things a little bit more awkward. That's kind of the hardest part, I think. Colouring on camera is actually trying to be on camera. But yeah, the highlight parts of these bangs, this fringe would be in the middle here. Add a few highlights here, and then we can go back in and tidy up the edges of that white gel pen. Let's go. We do have maybe a few of the darker shadow bits with the black down here where the hair is kind of touching her face. So I'll add those in with the black a little bit. Yeah, that's working quite well. How far did we get on this other side? Did I do the light grey? I can't remember. I think I might have done the light grey, but just to make sure. And the yellow. And there'll be maybe grey layers. I'm blending with the white on top of this because I don't want the yellow to be too bright, as we've said we want to. We want to make her hair look blonde rather than yellow. decided not to go for a fantasy colour, so we're trying to make it look kind of natural, or at least like the illustration on the other side. And it would be darker here because we are on the shady side, the opposite side to where we have our light coming from, if I'm remembering rightly. I'm not entirely sure actually whether I want to bring in the washi tape for the hair ribbons. Would that be maybe going a little bit too much off the beaten path there? We have the washi tape for the ribbons on her wrist. I'm not entirely sure whether we'll be able to cover this pattern here. I'm not sure if that's on camera, but I'm not entirely sure whether we'd be able to cover this pattern here we have going on that ribbon. But we can give it a go once we get to that, and if not, I can colour them. Just colour them yellow maybe, or whatever colour we get to, we decide. Yeah, I'm quite happy with how this hair is coming along, to be honest. Not entirely like Lana's on the other side, but close enough that I think I can probably live with that. It's going to be quite interesting to try and give that background effect that Lana's used over there. I think I might be able to do with chalk pastels. And maybe adding a few little sparkles with a pencil and white gel pen over the top. I'll have to see how that goes towards the end, but yeah. A little bit yellow here. Do we need any black towards the middle of our parting here? We probably do. I'm trying to give quite light strokes with the pencil. Sort of like hair strands or strokes going on there. Blend that in a little bit with the charcoal. This side of our hair would be darker in theory, so darker shadows wouldn't be too amiss, or too out of place maybe. And we do have the line art drawn in, quite sketchy kind of hair strands there. So if we work with those, I think we're getting somewhere near. I think we're getting somewhere near the right kind of colour there. Yeah, I think that's looking okay. So I'll add in a few white highlights, not so many this side because this is the darker side. But we do want it to look as if our hair is shiny. We just tidy up those lines a little bit. There we go. Okay, that's one side done. A little bit of a camera adjustment there to make it easier for me to actually see what I'm doing. But we've gone over to the other side of her hair now, and there is actually more hair on this side. We want to make this hair behind here darker than her actual braid or plait. Hoping you can see. Yeah, I'm hoping my hand isn't in the way here. I'm trying not to get it into the way. But yeah, we want to make the hair behind this braid or plait, we want to make that darker than the actual braid itself. So that it looks it's further in the background and we can actually see this braid behind the flowers. Having to be a little bit careful there because we did use the white gel pen on the flowers. So just be a little bit extra careful if you have already done that white gel pen, and we don't want to be scraping that off. Do the darker hair first, I think. Make sure there's shadows behind these lemons as well. It's a little bit awkward with the spine of the book in the way there. Trying to make sure that my hand isn't going up right in the way and you can't see what I'm doing. Plus I do tend to forget. If I get carried away, get too into something, I do tend to forget I'm filming, as has happened a few times. But as usual, this is the darker grey, and I'm just following the grayscale Lana's actually drawn there. And as with her fringe there, the darker bits there, as the hair curves inwards, and the bit where it is out, if that makes sense, that is where the highlight goes. So these bits here close to her head and close to here, they would get the shadows because that's where her hair is curving, and our highlights would be in the bit that's actually coming out of her hair into the light. Same here. We'll carry that on into the plait as well, the braid. It's a little bit hard to remember sometimes that things have different names in different countries. So if I do use any words that don't fit the object, then please let me know. Us British do tend to have our own little words for things, and different countries call them something else. I'm not entirely sure on all of them. I do keep trying to remember to say eraser. That's the biggest one, I think. Because, yeah, what we call it in Britain is something else entirely in America. And braid and plait, yeah, that's another one. Bangs and fringe. In Britain, we have fringe. In America, that is bangs, I think, if I'm remembering right. Let's bring the yellow in here. We do want some yellow because this hair is on the lighter side of her head, where the light will be coming from. We seem to have a light coming from the left, if I'm remembering right. But we don't want to have the bright yellow because we want the braid or plait to be lighter. We have a few strands going over her ears there as well. I'm going to be sure to pick those out. So going over the yellow there with a very light layer of the lighter grey, which is the dim grey. Slightly lighter grey. And we'll probably need to bring in the black there as that is going behind stuff. Behind her ear, behind the braid. Did I put the yellow there? I don't think I did I? We'll definitely need some of the black there, I'm thinking. Just to define this line art a little bit, because the line art, as I've said, is not black, it's not terribly dark. Which is kind of good in one way, I suppose, because you can make your pictures look slightly more realistic with no black lines going around everything. But I think it would have helped. It would have helped a little bit here, I think, to define this hair a little bit more. But never mind, we can go in with our black. I'm not disparaging or saying anything bad about Lana's pictures. I do love Lana's art, as you're probably sick of me going on about by now. I do love Lana Green's art. And from what I've read as well, her first book, The Green Portraits, is actually coming out on Amazon paper now. She said in the post I read, she said it's the best quality Amazon paper, but it should in theory be cheaper than the original release, which was kind of a ring bound higher quality book, I think, which I couldn't manage to get hold of because every time I went on Amazon it was out of stock. I did check a lot, so I'm still checking to this day, I think, looking for the original version of that, and I couldn't find it. I might go ahead and buy the Amazon paper version, but I do have this lovely book to be going on with. I think up till now I haven't really coloured that many pictures by Lana Green because her books are quite hard to come by, and this one, yeah, I had to pay for postage all the way from Korea, so yeah, it is a chunk of change. We all say that it's a chunk of change, but definitely worth it, I think, especially for this one. And of course her Patreon, yeah, I can't recommend her Patreon enough. Although I haven't really coloured any of the pictures that we've gotten on Patreon, to be honest. Which is a crying shame. I have coloured one, or maybe two of her freebie PDF downloads, and I really love doing those. But I haven't really coloured many pictures, which is kind of sad. I don't really want to go too overboard with the grey here. I might have gone a bit too overboard with the grey. We'll see once I put in the white highlights and once I've coloured it braid, we'll see how we're getting on there. We should be fine. We should be able to get away with it because it's quite way away behind stuff. So I'll add in a few white gel pen highlights here. Not super many because we are behind the rest of the braid and ribbon and stuff here. Yeah, need to tidy that up definitely. Yeah, that's actually looking okay. Well, I think mine's maybe looking more of a maybe a very light brown rather than blonde, but I think we can get away with it. I think it's fine. Maybe once I've done this purple, it will look a bit more yellow. Although we don't want it to look super yellow, we just want it to look blonde. We'll see as we get along. I think she is looking pretty good so far. So we'll go ahead with our charcoal and just as we've been doing, adding in some of the darkest areas. We can go in with black for the very darkest areas, try and define this kind of braid sort of effect going on. Mainly I'm just following the line art that we've actually got. I do love colouring hair. And skin actually. I think skin and hair are some of my favourite things to colour. I think we all have things that we love to colour, things that we're not too really keen on. People definitely, yeah. I think anybody watching the channel would know that portraits and people, that is what I do love to colour, especially skin and hair. Trees, yeah, no, I don't like trees at all. I don't like trees, yeah, in real life I love trees. Trees are cool, but I don't like colouring them. And any kind of scenery and stuff in the background, I much prefer when I can do maybe a paint effect or just mess around with some sort of art material, markers, try a bit of experimenting or something. I don't like there to be too much of a background usually. A little bit is fine. Or a pattern, some sort of effect like we have going on there, this kind of background here, that's fine. I just don't like colouring landscapes, to be perfectly honest, and anything that isn't people, I think twice about. I am trying to make myself colour pictures that don't really involve people too much. I don't mind colouring animals. Animals I'm fine with. But I'm trying to colour more pictures that have like, or I'm going to try and colour more pictures that have like objects and things instead of just people. Let's try bringing in the yellow. Yeah, I think that might be an idea. Maybe my monthly theme could be something I don't colour rather than something I do colour. Or at least more of them, maybe more of them next month. Because I don't think I could just stop colouring people for a month. That might be too much for me because it is kind of my happy place to colour people. I can just kind of do them on autopilot most of the time now. There we go. I'm letting the I'm trying to leave more highlights along this edge of the braid here because as that light is coming in from the left, that's where the light would be hitting it. And our very darkest bits, where I might bring in the black in a second, will be down the middle part here where these strands crisscross over each other. Oh, I didn't do our little space bum thing up there. We'll get onto that. But I'll bring in this black. Especially around these places where the strands are crisscrossing each other. In the middle here, that's where the most shadows would be. As long as we get some kind of effect using the line art that's actually there, I think will be good. Need to have a bit of shadow behind this lemon just to make that stand out. To make it look as if her hair is actually a different colour than the lemons, because yeah, Unless you've dyed it, nobody naturally has hair the same colour as a lemon, I would imagine. This is a dim grey going over that yellow a little bit to dull it down and make it look more like a natural hair colour. And the strand lines are kind of drawn in there for us, so I'm not being too particular with that really. Just trying to blend in that layer of yellow slightly. And the white for blending. Well, we're not really blending here because we do want the strands and the strokes of the hair to show through, but I want to dull down the yellow more than anything here because we want our hair to look more blonde than grey or yellow. I don't think we're doing too bad. I think we're looking pretty similar to the other side. Although, yeah, you don't have to copy the inspiration illustration at all, as I said in the first one. And I think I also said that you shouldn't worry if your picture ends up looking nothing like it, even if you do use the same colours. Because yeah, every artist has their own style, and even using the same colours, the same materials as Lana, nobody will get exactly the same result. So yeah, never be intimidated by any coloured version of the picture that you see. Just have the fun colouring it in, that's what we want. And don't feel that you have to make it, the same colours and look exactly the same. We are going to be deviating with the purple for her dress and with the washi tape for the ribbons. In theory anyway, so we're going to be deviating a little bit from the actual illustration on the other side, and we've given our girl freckles, so she does look a lot different anyways. I did do the same colour for the blossoms here. I think my greens are slightly different. I did do the same kind of colours for the blossom because I wasn't exactly sure what lemon blossom looked like. I don't think I've ever seen it. Okay, the main highlights for this braid would be along this edge. So we're going to add in a few little white highlights here. I do like to add highlights if the hair goes over the skin or a face or something. There it's going over her arm, so I do like to add a few little highlights there if the hair is actually going over the skin, and we'll maybe put some here to show these little strands, flyaway strands over her face. We've got one little kind of bun left here. We're going to finish with our hair colours. So going in with the charcoal grey. Exactly the same as we've done all the way along. Just going to follow what's there. Use our greys and our yellow. Get some sort of dark blonde hair colour going on. I don't think I've really tried this without a marker base. I have done dark blonde hair with a marker base. I think I used a pastel yellow as my base for that. But I don't want to be using markers in this book because of the lovely artwork we've got on the other side of each colouring sheet. There is an inspiration page on the other side of each kind of colouring page, so I don't want to be bringing in, I don't really want to be bringing in markers and ruining the art. Most of the time I wouldn't really worry too much, but because I like Lana Green's art so much, I don't really want to spoil any artwork that's on the other side. So I'm trying to stick to pencil. It does take a bit more time. It's a little bit more painstaking. I think you probably should be able to use watercolours as a base if the paper is the same as my other Korean books that I have. You should be able to use watercolour as a base. But yeah, all I've tried so far in this book is the Black Widows, which seem to work okay. This is the dim grey. I'm sorry, as usual, I always say this, I'm sorry if I don't say the name of the pencil as I pick it up. I do kind of get carried away and just focus on the colouring rather than explaining what I'm doing. But the colours that I've used, yeah, basically just playing with those, layering with those until we get some sort of a blonde kind of colour, similar to the illustration on the other side, similar to that. So that was the black. I've already used the charcoal grey. This is the dim grey, I think. Yeah. But basically any pencils. A light grey, a dark grey, and yellow. And then I'm bringing in the black for the shading. And maybe going a little bit too overboard there with the white highlights. So we'll get rid of those with the white pencil. It's just actually scraping it off with the white pencil. Not pressing super hard, but I think I went a little bit too overboard on my highlights there. That's not too bad. Maybe a little bit more yellow should be showing this side. Now we're far away from the lemons, we might be able to come in with that yellow a little bit more. Okay, let's get our lady the right way around again. Before I go on to do the purple of her hair ribbons and her dress, I think I'll colour this little bee here. Just make him a nice golden yellow. And this one is called Mango MN 090, that one is. Slightly close to being off camera there, but there we go, there's our little bee. I'll give him some highlights with that light yellow we've been using. One on his legs would be a slightly brighter yellow, I think. So this is the Aztec Gold MN 079. And I might highlight that with a little bit of orange. Let's find an orange. This is the Sunset Orange, CB44. Maybe give them a little bit of a shadow with those. And for his wings, we have MN124, that's cat's eye. I'm just going to give a very light layer of that with this very light blue. I think maybe I'll probably go around the edges of his wings with the white gel pen once we've got our background sorted. And as our liner isn't super dark, I'm just going to define his black stripes here, or her black stripes, with the black Polychromos. Maybe the little legs, just to help our little bee stand out a little bit there. That's super cute. Yeah, I like that. So let's go on to doing her dress and her hair ribbons now. Okay, to keep things fairly simple, I've just picked out a couple of shades of purple here. They're both Cobra pencils. These are CB118, which is Grape, and CB55, which is Tulip. I thought I'd just shade this pattern here on her dress with a couple of shades of the purple, and then maybe go in with the greys to give a bit of shadow. I'm hoping that will work. Maybe I can find a more cooler grey in there that I can maybe use. The greys I used for her hair, I'm thinking to use for this white part of her dress down here. Maybe bring in some very light purple down there. We'll see how we go. But just for this pattern for her dress, I'm just going to colour it with the both shades of purple. Hopefully this one is showing up. That is Tulip. This pattern is fairly difficult, so I'm going to have to probably concentrate quite hard to get this pattern right. It's some sort of a gingham pattern, maybe. And these squares I'm just shading. We're trying to keep fairly flat colour. Might have to come in with the darker purple so that I know where I am with the pattern. This one would be the darker purple. Those ones wouldn't, and this one's would. There we go, something like that. It looks like that darker purple might need a little bit of blending though, so there we go. Give that a little bit of blending to flatten that colour out. We don't want any texture really showing because it's a pattern that's printed on the fabric. So give it a little bit of blending. Yeah, that's looking pretty flat now. We do want those colours to look pretty flat because they're a pattern that's printed onto the dress. There is a little bit of lace along the neckline there. I'll probably go in with that with the white gel pen. Just try and make that look a little bit lacy. Okay, that's all the light purple there. I have to try and keep this pattern matching. It's one of those that, yeah, quite easy to make a mistake on, I think. Getting one of these darker squares in the wrong place. And of course you could erase, but yeah, I don't think you'd be able to get completely rid of that colour unless you have an electric eraser, which I don't have. There we go, and just blend those with the white. Just to get a flat colour. We don't really want the colours to be blending together, but to get a flat colour and to maybe pale them down a bit, make them a little bit lighter. I'm going to go over that with the white. Let's see if I've got a cooler grey. I'm not quite sure I have. Let's try this medium grey, MN072. I have no idea how that will show over the top of the... Oh yeah, that's working pretty well. We have a bit of a shadow there behind her hand because, yep, the light is coming from the left, so we'd have a shadow behind her hand there. I'm putting a warm grey on top of a kind of really cool purple colours. I think wouldn't work too well. A little bit of shadow to this lace as well. Maybe a bit of shadow underneath where that ribbon comes. And we can reinforce that shadow with, maybe I'm thinking, this coal colour, which is MN110. The medium grey was MN072, if I didn't mention that. But hopefully this coal colour, just to right where her hand or her arm is going across there. I think that's working. Okay, I'm going to go very, very lightly with this medium grey over the whole of this lace here, just so our white gel pen would show up slightly better, make a kind of lacy pattern there. So it's very, very lightly. Hopefully that's showing on camera, but there is a little touch of that grey colour there. And we're going to go around this lacy pattern with the white gel pen. It's kind of fiddly, so yeah, completely optional. Thought maybe we could make something happen there, give a bit of a lacy pattern or something. It's fairly small, so it doesn't have to be exact. Some sort of impression that we've got some lace going on there. And maybe we could do this line where the lace joins the dress there. Yeah, I think that's looking kind of like a lacy trim now. I'm trying to keep to what we have in the illustration, and I'm going ahead and working on the pattern on this side over here now. Again, kind of difficult to try and keep right. But these light purple squares are every other, so you can just go in and fill those in really. Using the illustration as a reference to try and get the dark purple in the right place, because the dark purple comes along every other row. It's not every row. Kind of easy to make a mistake with that. Oh, we should have a little bit of light purple there, a tiny little touch. And we don't have any dark. Okay. And blend it with the white. And then our medium grey. We have quite a lot of shadow under this one here. So furthest away from the light, and the line art, or the grayscale rather, is giving us quite a lot of shadow down this side and here. Then we can bring in the coal. A little tiny bit of extra shadow. There we go, and I think that purple is working really nicely. Not that the blue wasn't. I just, yeah, purple was the way to go, I thought. Maybe being biased. I'd still think the pink would have been too much pink. And because of the yellow of her skin, the yellow of the lemons, I just seem to think that the purple was the way to go. Although it's your book, you can colour any colour you want. Dark purple, let's see, where does this come? This one is dark purple. Oh, have I gone wrong there? Oh, That square needs to be the light purple. It's so easy to make a mistake with this pattern. That square needs to be the light purple. And that's white. And then this is dark. Yeah, even trying super hard there, I made a mistake with the pattern. Easily fixed though. That would be white. This be black here? No, that would be a light colour. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. Again, let's blend those. Try and get some nice flat colour. Maybe knock them back a little bit, not be so bright. And put what smudged a little bit there with the blending. I don't think that's too big of a deal. We can always go back in with the white gel pen and sort that out. So let's bring in our medium grey. I don't think there'd be much shadow there, if any, to be honest. That's more likely to have the highlights. So where's the coal? There's the coal. I'm going to bring in a white highlight down the edge of that dress there. There isn't one in the illustration, but that's just the way that I colour things. So yeah, we'll go ahead and pop that in. And maybe to tidy up that purple there on the edge of her finger, a bit of highlighting there. Okay, looking good. Yeah, and I think because purple of her skin is more of a pinky purple and these are more bluer purple, so I think we've got that working quite well there. That's good. Yep, I like that. I think I said I was going to use the warmer greys to do this piece of her dress down here, but I'm going to go with the medium grey. Kind of cooler greys, I think these are. I think that might work quite well. Kind of as a contrast to these yellow ribbons if I do end up using that washi tape. I'm just going over the shadows where the actual grayscale kind of shading is. It's not quite grayscale, it's just kind of a pencil sketch kind of looking picture. So where the heaviest kind of sketchy lines, where those are. Going over that with the medium grey. I can blend that out with the white. I'm not entirely sure we have a lighter grey, to be honest. Of course, we have the gunmetal grey. This is MN092. We can possibly blend that out. This is quite a cool grey as well, a light cool grey. I'm going to blend out that medium grey. And we'll probably go over that with the white as well. Again, this is slightly different to Lana's drawing because I think her greys over the other side, they're more warmer greys. This kind of white part of her dress. But I think the cooler greys go well with the purple. They work better with the purple, I'm thinking anyways. Oh, that's what I'm going for. It really doesn't matter what colour we colour a dress. As I've said, it's our colouring book. We can colour what we want. So we're going to go with this medium grey. Again, for these darker areas. We don't really want it to look grey, we'd like it to look white, even though the other side, maybe this whole area is kind of grey. I don't think we need to colour the whole area. And this paper isn't exactly white, it's more of an off-white, kind of a, not quite as creamy colour as maybe Hannah Carlson books, but it's definitely an off-white. It's not a brilliant white paper, like a pure white. That does make colours look slightly different. I think if you've got the warm colour paper there, it does make colours look slightly different than they would on the pure brilliant white. And it does make it, well, for me, I don't know if there's any tips and tricks to it, but it's slightly harder to film because the video always ends up looking really dark. Okay, maybe we can bring in this coal colour. Very darkest shadows here. I don't really want to bring in the black. I want to stick with the black just to her hair for now. That is supposed to be like the character, the face of the character. maybe the lemons, I'm not entirely sure. It's supposed to be the focus of the picture. Usually I go for the face of the character to be the focus of the picture, so that's where I want the most contrast, the darkest colours. The more contrast between the dark and the light, with her light skin here and the black in her hair seem to be working quite well to kind of grab the focus there. And any areas that are not in the area of focus, the main place that you want people to look, where you purposely want the attention to go, which is to her face in this case, that's where we want the attention to go. And any areas that are further away from that, that are just going to be, that are not going to be the places people immediately look to, you have a bit more leeway for little mistakes not being so noticeable. You don't have to pay so much attention. And that's the way I look at it anyway. But again, maybe I'm kind of biased because I do love colouring faces and hair, so yeah. I'm going to blend this white part of her dress with the actual white pencil to try and make it look as if this part of her dress is supposed to be white rather than grey. I don't know how well that will work. But as it is, as I've said, slightly off-white paper, I think maybe going over the top here and going over the blank areas with the white pencil maybe might help it look a little bit kind of whiter. I don't really want to go over this line art. Usually if I'm colouring a white clothes or flowers or anything white really, I go over the line art with the white gel pen afterwards, but I think in this case, yeah, we want the white, the delicate things we've got being white, we want those to have the white outlines, like the flowers. I know they're not white, they're kind of a pale pink, but we want those to look delicate, so we've gone over those with the white gel pen. We want this lace to look delicate, so we've gone over that with the white gel pen. So yeah, this part of her dress isn't really delicate. We want that to look pretty substantial, so I'm not really going to go over that with the white gel pen around the edges. I will probably go in and give a little bit of a highlight. I'm going to go in with this coal a little bit first and make sure we've got the shadow behind her arm here. It is pretty dark in the actual illustration as well. So I figured this is the way we've got our light shining, and blend out that shadow a little bit with the medium grey and the white. And there we go. Right, I think we're looking okay there. We'll go in with a few white highlights. Maybe not all that visible, but I'm going to pop them in anyway, just to show we do have a few folds going on here. There we are, I think that's not looking too bad. Might need a bit more shading. That's with the gunmetal. I can't remember if I mentioned which pencils I was using there, but yeah, I think we had the medium grey and the gunmetal. The medium grey is kind of a medium grey, gunmetal is a light grey, and the coal is the darker for the shadows. As I've said, I don't really want to bring in the black there for her dress. Okay, so let's go on to the hair ribbons here, and we'll be using the same purples that we used for the dress, for the kind of gingham. Is it called plaid in America? I'm not entirely sure. Kind of gingham pattern, the checker pattern she's got going on there. I'm going to use the same colours for these ribbons. Going in with the, what's this one? This one is grape. Blending out into the lighter one. Don't really want to make her ribbons look super shiny, so won't be leaving too many brilliant white highlights. I'll probably go in with the gel pen. And give a little bit of white, but we don't want too many brilliant white highlights. But I'm going over most of the white very, very lightly with the tulip colour. And yeah, I think we're getting a bit of nice contrast there with the yellow in her hair, so we'll go with that. I'll blend those colours. We could go in there for a very little bit of a dark shadow with the black. Not too much though. And we want to have bit of a shadow where that is going over her hair. So that's about right. And yeah, I really should do these once I've done the whole bow, but I just want to check that this white will work here. Yep, and if we tidy that up, that's pretty good, I think. So I'll go ahead with those colours, do the rest of these ribbons, and then it will be the moment of truth. We'll be seeing if our washi tape will actually work for doing those ribbons she has on her hands. Shall we give her purple nails? There we go, moment of distraction, but purple nails, yeah, why not? You can barely see them, they're so tiny, but she does have the purple nail varnish going on there. Now I'm trying to look at the illustration to see how we would be shading this. And of course substituting my own colours, and the ribbon's not blue. And these are the same two purples, the ones I used for her dress. Blend that with the white. And on this side of her face, on this side of her head rather, the colours would be getting the most light, so we're going to add a few little highlights maybe with the white there again. A little bit of black for that shadow, it would be quite dark there, I'm thinking. And again, a shadow onto her hair, her face maybe. And the usual white highlights. And the colour of these ribbons in her hair does seem to be slightly darker than her dress. But I think that's the same as the other side. In the illustration you probably see there, these ribbons do look slightly darker than the colour of her dress. But I think that's because you've got these white squares coming in there, kind of breaking up the colours. That's the grape for the darkest areas. This one is the lilac, is it? Tulip. I knew it was a flower. Again, going very lightly over those lighter areas and going very lightly over with this tulip colour, so that when we blend it with the white it doesn't look stark white. That tulip should blend into a very light purple if it shows up. I will adjust the colours in editing if we are having problems with them showing up. Although hopefully my lemons are not showing us kind of orange. When I edited the last video, my lemons look like they should be melons or something, because the colours were so orangey yellow, or kind of grapefruit colours maybe. Yeah, the lemons are not that orangey yellow in real life, I promise. They're a lot closer to what they are on the other side of the page, even though it doesn't look it. It really doesn't look it at all. But I tried adjusting the colours in editing, and whenever I brighten the colours it just made the orange brighter, and yeah, for some reason this camera doesn't, the phone camera doesn't like a yellow. The reds usually show up different than what I have on the actual page as well, and I have no idea why. But yeah, as I was saying, the lemons in real life, then they're not as orange. I did use orange, so I can't deny that. I did use orange on them, but they don't look as orangey yellow as they do on the actual video. It's a shame I didn't realise that until after I'd actually finished editing. But yeah, these lemons, not quite that bright orange yellow, not quite. But I'm liking that purple we've got going on there for a hair ribbon. I'm liking that purple. That does work quite well, I think, with that kind of dark, kind of dusty blonde hair she's got going on. And I'm not entirely sure what colour to do the background, whether I should try and keep the same colours. Maybe I should. Except for the blue sparkles, I'll put in some purple sparkles, because we have blue sparkles the other side in the background. I'm sure we can get something going on once I bring in the chalk pastels, which is how I'm planning to try and recreate that background. I have no idea if that will work, but I like playing with chalk pastels anyway. And if you are colouring along, that's as most of it is, completely optional. Maybe watercolour would be nice as a background, but I'm kind of committed to going with what's on the other side and following along with that, I think, to try and show you guys how I would go about recreating that. I don't think I could do it with pencils. It's sort of a bokeh effect, sort of, I think, but that takes a heck of a long time to do with pencils if you're just doing layers and layers of pencil. I don't tend to do it very often unless I do a bit of a lazy cheat with it. I don't tend to do bokeh effect too often. It's effective, but it does take a heck of a long time, unfortunately. I've done a kind of bokeh effect with using markers and colourless blender. That seems to work quite well. Or you can cover the whole area with chalk pastel and just erase little circles, which gives the same sort of kind of effect. I probably haven't said what colours I'm using over this side, but yeah, I think we get the deal right now. It's the dark purple, the light purple, and the black. Going over the white areas with a kind of thin coat of the light purple so they don't stand out as being super stark white. I am adding in, as usual, the few little white highlights, but we don't want the contrast to be super great. Just add in, as I said, a couple of little highlights with the white gel pen. I don't want the ribbon to be like satin or anything, and I haven't gone overboard trying to make a texture like velvet or something like that. It's too small, I think. These pages are pretty small, so there's not room for a ton of detail. And there we go. I think that will bring us to the moment of truth now. So that has brought me round to actually trying to use these washi tapes. And I'm thinking, as this one is white, just with the little flowers on it, I'd try doing that one over this side. And the darker yellow one over here, that one does actually go over the bit of a dress there, so I'm going to try and use that one on this side. It might be a little bit fiddly to try and get this bow happening, but we'll see what we can do with it. Let's try and see what we can do. Okay, first of all, I'm going to see if we can actually see that pattern through here. Yeah, we can, unfortunately. Can we also see it through this sunflower one? I'm guessing yes. Okay, unfortunately, you can actually see this pattern here through the washi tape. So what I'm planning on doing is covering the pattern with the white gel pen, and then maybe seeing if we can still see through the tape. Hopefully it won't be as noticeable with the white gel pen. Maybe if I use the sunflower tape, which actually has a white background, it can go over the top of there and not look super bad. I have no idea if that will work. It is worth a try because my little heart is set on using these washi tapes. And the only one that you can't see through this pattern here is this dark blue one. This dark blue one with the bees on, and I don't think that really matches in with the rest of the pictures, so I'm trying to figure out a way I can actually use my tape and not have this pattern show through as much. And then we'll see where we are. Unfortunately, if I stick the tape down, that will be it. It will be stuck. I might not be able to lift it back up again. It will risk lifting off the gel pen. But I'm hoping. And it doesn't look terrible. I can sort of ignore it, I think. But yeah, we're going to see if putting that white gel pen down will kind of tone down that pattern a little bit. Then we'll be able to use our washi tape. I did plan on using the yellow on that side. So that is a shame. But maybe we don't want too much of a contrast because then that'll be taken away from our face. So let's see. Oh yeah, that is so much better. Maybe I'm careful lifting that up. Yeah. I think now we've actually done that with the white gel pen, we could be able to get away with doing this washi tape as our ribbon. And I'm just using the craft knife and cutting through, not pressing super hard. I'm being pretty gentle here. We don't want to slice through the actual page. We just want to slice through the washi tape. So if you score it pretty gently with the craft knife or X-Acto knife, scalpel, whatever you have. And this is just an old one of my partner's, my other half's old scalpel. He uses them for making his Warhammer figures, if anybody knows what they are. Yeah, he's into making the little models there. That's the first piece done. And we do have a kind of wavy edge there that might be showing over the edge of the actual tape, but I don't think that looks too bad. I'm quite happy with that. I might be able to go over the top of the tape a little bit later with the greys to shade it some. I do want these flowers, the sunflowers, to be visible on my ribbon. I'm trying to position that so that we've got as many or as much flowers as we can get onto there. And when you do stick your tape down, you want to be sure that you're covering the whole of the area that you want to be kind of covered with the tape. It is hard to get. It's kind of tricky to get all right. I want to have at least a couple of flowers visible there. I think we've just about done that, so you can see the lines through the actual tape, so you can just scroll along them pretty gently, so you're not cutting through the page, as I've said. And I'm sort of trying to disregard those kind of bumpy, lacy edges and just turn it into a smooth line. That's the plan. Let's just see, let's take this is the coal. Let's see if we can add a little bit of shading here. It seems like you can shade on top of this, so that's a little bit of the coal colour. We'll go in with the medium grey, just as we did on the white part of her dress. And then maybe, I'm not sure how well it will show up, but a little bit of the gunmetal maybe. Give that ribbon a little bit of shading, and then go on top with the white gel pen. And I'm adding a few little kind of dots and kind of, I'm not sure how to say it, some kind of semicircular sort of little marks along the edge there to make it look as if we do have some sort of a fancy edge to it. And again, I want to get the sunflowers visible on these bits if I can. We might take a little bit of positioning, and yeah, turning the edges into just a smooth line. And I figure that we can maybe go over like we did here, go over the edge and add a little bit of kind of scalloping with the white gel pen with some kind of semicircular marks, a few little dots. We're going to have a knot there, so medium grey, a little bit of shadow, and gunmetal, and kind of reinforce the scalloping, make it look as if we do have a fancy edge, just with the white gel pen. It's always going to be a little bit fiddly to try and make this ribbon out of washi tape, but yeah, my little heart was set on it. Now this is washi tape, it's fairly thin, you can see through the line art underneath, and we do have a bit of a bow there. So this is the coal, I'm just marking in where that bow kind of goes in. Medium grey. I'm pretty happy you can actually shade here. White gel pen. And it would probably take longer to dry than usual on top of washi tape, so if you are using white gel pen on top of the washi tape, you have to be a little bit mindful about putting your hand in it, which is, yeah, not one of my strong suits anyway at the best of times. We could cut out all these little pieces here, all kind of separate, to make it look super kind of realistic, and how how the pattern would actually go, but to make things really simple, I'm just going to cut out the whole thing all in one piece and then go in with my shading and the white gel pen and try and make that look a little bit more as it should be. So there's our cutout all in one piece there. And I'm just gonna add a little bit of shading with the grey, medium grey I think this one is called. Yep, gunmetal. And then the white gel pen. We've had to go over the edge of this bow here, so we'll just add that in. And then give a couple of little edges down here. And straight across her hand. There we go, that's looking pretty good. I think let's see if we can get this piece over here done with the kind of honeycomb print washi tape. It should be a little bit easier to cut this one. I don't know how well the pattern will show up, but we don't really have to. Try and position it so that any flowers are visible. So we're just going to go and cut along these lines here. Hopefully you can see that I am cutting along the lines here and not pressing super hard, because you just want to press enough to go through the tape, not the paper. You have to make sure your corners are all matching up. Go, peel that back. Now this one, I have angled the tape a little bit there just for a little extra realism. Maybe I should move up a little bit to maybe not waste so much. Not so fiddly this side as we don't have any bows happening. Again, we're angling the tape as this kind of piece of tape is going at an angle like that. We've angled our washi tape to maybe give a little bit of sense that the pattern is going the same way as the illustration. Ended up with a little tear there, so I'll just disguise that with a little bit of white gel pen by adding in a few highlights along the edges. This one does kind of come down like that and up there. I suppose it'll be a little bit hard to see that honeycomb pattern coming through on the video or actually on the picture itself unless you look pretty closely, but we all know it's there, right? So the principle is there, and even on its own the colour I think is working pretty well, so I'm happy with that. There's our last piece there. To match the other pieces, I'll come in with that little kind of white highlight there. I'm not sure if we can shade that with a golden yellow. We would probably need to shade that with the brown, so I've got a brown there, the dark tan that we used when we did her skin. Add a little bit of shading, which is probably further covering that pattern of the honeycomb, but as I said, we know it's there, right? We could do with a wider area really to cover that tape. But I wanted to use it, so I have. Okay, and there's our ribbons. I've zoomed this out a little bit now because it's time to work on this background. And I was trying to maybe do the same kind of background we've got going on here. I'm not entirely sure I'm going to be able to make that work. I thought maybe if I just swapped these blue sparkles, probably not showing up very well on the camera. I'll show you. There we have blue sparkles and yellow sparkles on like this very light kind of tan colour background there. So I was thinking of maybe swapping out the purple for the blue sparkles in that background there, maybe trying to find a light tan chalk pastel and work into that to do these little sparkles with the purple and the yellow. I'm not entirely sure how well this will work. So here's my set of chalk pastels. There we go, and this is a set I've actually bought from a charity shop quite a while ago, so I'm not exactly sure what the brand is or anything like that. I can't really find any brand name on it. Maybe no, well, it says soft chalk pastels. I can't find any brand name or anything like that, but that's my set. And the colours that we have are these ones here. Those are the colours that we have. And I thought maybe I could try and use this one and bring in a little bit of chalk pastel in the background there. Mainly because I think trying to do all that with the pencil would take quite a long time, and I don't really have a very light hand with pencils. I'm trying to teach myself to have one, but I don't at the moment have a very light hand. I do tend to press a little bit too much. So I'm thinking maybe using this chalk pastel and then adding in the little sparkles on top with the purple and the yellow. So I'm going to take this chalk pastel. I've got my cotton buds here. Got my cotton buds. We're going to try and give a little bit of the same effect that we've got going on here. I don't know quite if it will work because I've never really tried anything like that before, but I've done chalk pastel backgrounds, but not with the little sparkles. But let's see how well we go. So first of all, I'll go in with this pastel and then try and blend it with the cotton bud to get pretty close to Our Lady and fade out a little bit around the edges. Really come down to about here, goes up around her head, and this will probably get a little bit messy. I should have laid down some paper, but it's not going right to the edge of the page, so I think I might be able to get away with it. Some people would rather scrape off the chalk pastel into a little palette or a dish and then dip the cotton bud into the dust that you would end up with there. But I usually do it this way. I draw it onto the paper and then smudge it or blend it in with the cotton bud. Seems to work for me. So we'll see what we can do. I'll just try and blend this out, see how well that works on this paper. Sometimes the paper has a lot to do with how well things work. It isn't blending as well as I would maybe like, but I think it might be enough. Okay, I've gone ahead and done that background there with the chalk pastel and blended that out, but I'm thinking maybe this colour is a little bit too dark to be getting those sparkles working, so I'm just going very, very lightly over with the eraser to maybe knock it down, tone it down a little bit, make that colour a little less kind of saturated. Hopefully we'll be able to make my sparkles show up while still having the background still show up on the camera. I'm not even sure if it will show up after I've gone over with the eraser. That's made that a slightly bit less bright, so let's see what we can be doing with these sparkles now. And I don't want them to be too bright and distracting from the yellow we have here, so I'm going to try doing the yellow ones with this mango colour, and they seem to be of making a circle with a bit of a white, or leaving the background colours coming through with a little dot in the middle. So we're doing a circle as if you're scribbling with a pen and leaving the white dot in the middle so that the background colour come through, and I'm pressing pretty hard to make this colour show up over the top of that chalk pastel. We have one over here. There we go. On the white paper you might be able to see a little bit better. We're scribbling a circle and leaving a white kind of area in the middle. We're doing exactly the same over here, but the white we're leaving in the middle, that will have the chalk pastel showing through. And I'm trying to put them in about the same places as they are in the picture on the other side. We have a couple here. And yeah, we don't want this yellow in the background to be brighter than the lemons, or the same colour as the lemons really. It's a little different. We have a little one there. And we have one here. They seem to be just around the top part of the picture. That's about right, I think. And Lana's do look a little bit scribbly. So I don't think if they do go a little bit scribbly, that will really detract. I think that actually looks a little bit better. Now I've gone over it to get those kind of scribbly line effects. Yeah, those actually look a bit better. So yeah, doing them more scribbly, I think, works slightly better. The ones closest to the B, these ones here, seem to have a quite light centre, so I might come in just with a little bit of gel pen, smudge that out with my finger, just to give the centres being a little bit more lighter there. A little bit more of a sparkle. Okay, that seems to be working well, and that's how the yellow ones are done. And looking at the blue ones, They seem to have a darker blue dot in the centre, and then the outside kind of scribbly ring, that's a lighter colour. So what I'm going to do is turn those to purple, because we did actually swap out the blue to the purple here. So I'm going to try doing those with the purple and just doing a dark purple dot like that, and then going around the outside, going over the dot in the middle to blend that in, and going around the outside with the light purple. Yep, I think that's working okay. So we have one here, dot with the dark purple, and then around the outside, going over the middle so that it blends in. I'm kind of doing a scribbly circle around the outside. We have one kind of here. There we go. I'm thinking that's how the background is done. Over the other side, that's looking okay to me. Of course, we could lighten the middle of any of those yellow ones that we wanted to, but I'll just leave those two there being lighter. That's how it is on the other side, and I think that's kind of drawing more attention towards this sort of face area, so I'm quite happy with that. I'll move on to do the other side. And of course, because we've used the chalk pastel in the background there, this will probably need a little bit of fixative. A little bit of fixative spray and maybe a piece of paper kept in between when the buck is put away, because that would be rubbing off. So we're going to go for circles over this other side in the middle. So we're going to go for our circles over this other side here, and the same kind of method, doing the circle kind of scribbly and leaving the area in the middle light. And these ones over this side, as they are next to a face, we're going to lighten those with the gel pen and just dab that off. We have a bigger one here next to a little one. There's a blue one here, so there'll be a yellow one about there. And off the edge of it. This is quite a nice background, actually. I'm trying to follow what we've got going the other side. This is quite a nice background. I might actually use that again, maybe with different colours. I think it seems to be working okay. My background is a slightly different shape than Lana's. And my circles would obviously be a little bit different. We have a few of the purple ones. Well, blue they are here, but we've done them purple. Oh, I did that with the wrong one. Doesn't matter. We're wanting to blend in that dark with the light anyway. And this one there. A little one there. And we have one. We have one that's slightly different, that's done the same way as these yellow ones. It's kind of on the edge of the background, so we'll do one the same there. We could even add a few little white sparkles. We want to lighten these centres of these ones. I don't want it to be stark white though, so I am kind of blending that out by dabbing it with my finger. We want those two to be fairly light, and this one as well, it seems. Fairly light. And I might add a few of my own little sparkles, as I said, because why not? Okay, and I think we're done. So there we go, that's our finished picture, and I'm really happy with how she's turned out. I am super happy with bringing in that purple instead of the blue, because I think with these ribbons being mostly yellow, I think I needed that contrast with the purple rather than the blue to really bring those ribbons out, I think. I really love these washi tapes, even though you can't really see the honeycomb effect on that one there. The colour is there even on its own, that's working really well. It was really fun to actually try and copy along with what Lana had done on the other side, even though I did change it up a little bit. I kind of copied along with her shading. I tried to make her skin colour the same as Lana has used on this side, and that was a bit of an experiment for me, using colours that are not entirely skin colours, but they do combine to make a skin colour, and I think that's quite effective, something I may again experiment with in the future. I also like this background, something else I may experiment with in the future, doing these little kind of sparkles. I think those are really effective, just picking out a couple of the colours from the picture and working with those. I also like the way her hair colour has turned out, making that blonde colour with a couple of greys and a bit of yellow. I think that has worked quite well, and it is pretty similar to what we actually have on this illustration here, so I think, yeah, that's another thing I'll add to my little notes of things I may use again in the future. That's quite a good way to get a blonde hair colour. I'm not sure how well it would work if there wasn't actually any line art there, but again, that is something to bear in mind and maybe try again. So all in all, yeah, it's been really fun. If anybody does feel like colouring along with me, then yeah, please feel free to do so. Change up anything you feel like changing up. They're guidelines more than rules. And thank you so much for watching. Take care, everybody, and I'll see you in future videos. Bye.